Whispers on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
How'd you like that little infomercial we had going there?
It was good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hi, Nick.
I hate my computer sometimes.
Let's talk about what the Gremlins just did to Nick's computer. We have a guest that we like to have on. Her name's Sherri, and we love having her on. And if you out there who listen to the podcast have no clue who she is, it's because every time she's on the show, Nick's computer dies.
Now, see, we have ghost problems here in the first place. When our ghosts get upset, our phones don't work.
And the Gremlins
They
eat our
hate
computers.
Sherri. They really do.
I don't know that it's hate as maybe they just respect her abilities and don't want to.
They don't want her to get the word out.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
I can't
I think
explain.
hate's a little strong.
I think it's well 3 times. Three times.
Maybe it's not Sherri. Nick.
It's me.
Maybe it's Nick.
Hey,
Maybe it's
this wing works every other night.
maybe it's because you're using an Asus.
Did it work last week? I wasn't here. Did you have problems last week?
Let's not.
Because
So
the week before.
Want to read that email? Oh no, it only stopped recording once.
Last week?
Last week.
Twice.
Well, because you had problems the week before.
Yeah.
I know.
And then this week.
Well, I tried to fix the problem.
Once a year, it's time to buy Nicky a computer.
Oh, boy. I bet his mom hates
We're going to be on the
that.
air until midnight. Working. We need money. Donations. Call in.
The internet does not work on this computer at all in this room.
Well, you should bring your laptop in.
You are going to
Mine
have to be
doesn't.
the
Mine-
power source.
Mine, I tried to send an email today. It took me 5 minutes to type it out.
Jeez.
Because it would type one letter, and then I'd have to double-click, and then it would type another letter and double-click.
That's what this was doing a second ago. It just logged me out of Pal Talk because of it.
Well, that pal talk. No.
We have a horrible time with computers here.
Oh, give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600.
Call now before the phones go down.
It's 57 degrees outside. It kind of feels warmer than that, but whatever.
You think?
Whatever. You know, that's how it's rolling. I'm Jordan Klein, here with Nick Queen, the lovely Lola Miller. And we do have a guest today in the studio. Well, not a guest, like guest, but he is a guest host. Mr. Evan, you want to say hi? You got to speak right up in the mic.
Hello, everybody. Nick, Jordan, thanks for having me on the show today.
He's a doctor of archaeology.
Yeah.
Dr. Jones
Just
to
don't
you.
hold me to that.
Now, why would we lie? Do we do that kind of thing? Let's see. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. We do thank you very much. It's very important that you are here. It's very special to us that you are a part of that. So thank you.
I'm going to mention this real quick. I just found out this lovely fact about my computer. If I click anywhere away from the screen that I'm on now, it shuts down recording.
So don't click anything else.
I can't. I'm backing away from the computer at this point.
I have an email to read, but I'm going to have to read it later because
I was going to the email to bring it up, and
oh yeah,
I can't.
So we have a glitch.
We have a problem.
Well,
But it's recording again. It just stopped while you were thanking the troops. I'm not sure where exactly it stopped. It might edit it weird.
all right. Well, we're thanking the troops. We got a phone call. Who we got?
do. We have Luggy.
Luggy.
What up, guys?
Luggy, get me a new computer, quick.
Hey, I was calling to tell you that you're not the only one having computer problems. Mine are probably a little bit more simple, though. I am, as we speak, trying to rewire an Atari that I got today.
Yes. Yes.
I'd love to have that problem.
I'm telling you, I got Pac-Man and Asteroids, and I'm jonesing.
Oh gosh.
I have a brand new high def, HDMI, blah blah, and it won't hook up to it. So I am doing a little engineering here and trying to get some magic working.
I would
is
say go to
awesome.
Radio Shack. They'll probably have anything to get you hooked up.
That's awesome.
Wow.
High five over the air, Luggy.
Exactly, buddy.
That's awesome. I got the that new Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare 2.
A little more advanced.
It's a little-
Everybody's been talking about this thing today.
It's a little more advanced than Pac-Man,
But not as fun.
but That's awesome.
Yeah, John called and was bragging about that today, and then I stopped by my parents, and my mother had found one, and I said, oh, I cannot wait. And I can't wait to call John and tell him I outdid him. He has Call of Duty 5. I have Pac-Man and Asteroid.
You win. You're clearly the winner, Luggy.
You should go get Combat. It'll be kind of the same.
I have what I got? Missile Command, Asteroids, Pac-Man, and Combat. Yeah.
There you go. That's the same thing as Modern Warfare 2.
Exactly. Plus, it's a little bit more my speed. I do the NASCAR show. Remember?
Hey, they have some really nice NASCAR games.
I mean, Atari is pretty easy like NASCAR. I mean, you only press the red button, right?
They have pole position, don't they? That's kind of.
I mean, it's been a long time since I played, but there's like nothing. You have to do everything manually. It's got a little reset and the game select button on the console, and a switch for color TV or black and white.
Wow.
So if I prefer to play it on a black and white television.
You better be careful. Bill DeFabio is going to come and probably try and steal it.
Sell it to him for a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
He's got the money.
You need this, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not listening. It's cool.
So if I get it working, I'll call you guys back and give you a little.
Oh, yeah, let us know.
Keep us updated throughout the show.
All right, guys.
See you, Luggy.
Later.
Okay, and I want to say hello to Neil and Tricia. I know they're listening.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Hi.
We're told that you listen all the time.
Yes.
So
Yes. So.
We're going to have to stop by Roosevelt's.
Yes.
You know, Neil, we like spaghetti too.
And we can be bought.
Yeah, me and you walk in though; they're closed the place. We can't support you both.
Just sending that out there, Neil.
Yeah, Neil. We love you, Neil.
Are we able to get the guest? Did we find her?
No, I've been enjoying the conversation.
Well, I love when you enjoy the conversation. I just want to point that out there. All right, Evan, what do you think so far? This is your first time in a studio?
It's everything I expected it to be. Everything looks pretty nice. Y'all
And
look very
more.
professional over here.
Okay,
If
well,
you
that-
only knew.
Yeah.
I've heard a few shows. I know how it goes here in about an hour.
Yeah.
Well, he was outside earlier. Like, so what are you going to do, huh, Doc? What's your game plan? She'll say something. We'll ask her a question about it.
Are you going to bring up this? Yeah, she'll bring it up.
I hope so.
That's how professional we hear our Whispers Radio.
I can't even touch my computer at this point, and so people on Pal Talk, hello, LOL, and all that. See, normally for Evan that doesn't know, I normally am able to go and chat on this chat room called Pal Talk, and at this point that ain't working. So, and I don't even know if the show's actually recording. That's the funny part. Like, I talk and I can see it coming up here, but I don't even know if it's working.
No, here's Sherri, and they can't get it. So
She's not hearing the show
over the internet.
over the internet. Well, that has nothing to do with me, but that would be going through the
UPRN.
UPRN or going through
WKKX. You can check that. All right, we got Sherri on the line.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm going to check this. over
Sherri,
here.
we're going to go ahead and bring to you. You are our paranormal mama. You brought us into this into this world. You are the director of Haunted Heartland Tours or HauntedHistory.net.
Yeah, I delivered you both.
And you've paranormally delivered us both.
Was that a painful birth?
You poor girl.
Let's just say it was portal delivery.
Because I mean, it's not like we were little.
No, you were both pretty well grown at that time. It's been a couple of years. My gosh, I'm glad you guys have done so well for yourselves. I'm so proud.
It's because of you.
Well, hey, you know what? This field is ever growing, and everybody can learn. And even somebody like me who's approaching middle age, every day is school, and there's so much excitement out there with the different shows on TV and different theories. And as long as everybody can, remain open-minded about things, I think we can all get along.
Well, the thing I'm trying to figure out right now is this is your third time on the show, and each of the times before, something has happened that has caused it not to record. And today I am fighting tooth and nail against whatever it is.
I know.
And I don't understand. I don't know what's happening.
It's funny because I seem to have that effect on a lot of people.
Really? This might be your last time.
Oh.
No, we would never do that.
I know. You know, it's funny because you bring up weird things happening and stuff. When we do our bus trips, the guy that owns the bus company, he's like, "Oh man, our buses run so well until Sherri gets on them, and then stuff malfunctions and doesn't work, and they have breakdowns." And we did a Friday the 13th bus trip a couple years ago to the West Virginia Penn, and it took us 3 buses to get there.
Oh my gosh!
And you know what? People love that. They think it's the best thing, and they're all, Friday the 13th, they're almost hoping for something to happen. It's crazy.
Well, we'll keep you all the bad troubles and all.
You're gonna need to get
We just have to take insurance.
an
out.
exorcist.
An exorcist?
Yeah.
I know a few. I know some demonologists.
You're gonna have to get a hold of some to relieve you of some of your technical spirits.
Last week I asked for a Texorcist.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I think there's a specialized field that somebody
I think
could
there's a
step
demand.
into. Yeah.
There is, and I've moved from Ohio. I'm now in the Great Mountain State now.
Oh, you are.
Now, where are you located at now? Are you near us?
I actually have an office. I'm in Summersville, which is in Nicholas County. I'm in the central part of the state, and I know you boys don't wander down too far down this way. You know.
Why do you move so far away from
I'm not
us?
that
You knew we were
far.
here.
I'm
Especially
a 2.5
Nicholas
hour
County.
drive from you guys.
And you said Nicholas County, and Lola started crying.
Crying.
I have heard some stories about Nicholas County that I'll have to tell you off
Stories
the
about
air.
Nicholas County?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm finding some great haunted locations down here.
You know what a
Well-
good county to live in is?
Which one?
Ohio
Mingo.
County.
Oh,
Is it? Oh, okay.
Which one were you going to say?
Mingo.
Bingo. Oh,
No,
God.
come on now.
Bingo.
No.
Oh.
Now, how is moving to
It's
Nicholas
wonderful.
County? How is that changing your business?
Well, it's wonderful. I've moved 300 miles south, which is wonderful. And I do so much in the state of West Virginia anyway that it made great sense to move down here. And I got married.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Got married
Wow.
in June, and so we're well situated here. And I love going around and finding all these little out of the way haunted locations that are just begging for, ghost hunts. That's what I love to find in the places off the beaten path. And I came across one last month.
Oh, what'd you find?
It's in Fayette County.
Okay,
Now, you guys familiar with Fayette County?
I'm not. But
I've
Okay,
heard
well,
of
you know,
it, but
it's where the New River Gorge Bridge is
Okay.
at.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Does that help you?
Cha-ching.
Been there.
Okay, there's an old coal company store called the Whipple Company Store, and they have 3 levels. They have a ballroom upstairs.
Mhm.
This was an old coal mining store way back when. It was built in 1890, and they embalmed 7,013 miners in their
Oh.
basement.
Wow.
So, and it's documented. And they had shootings out, back during the mine wars with the Baldwin Felts detectives and the Union and the coal mining families and whatnot. They would have these big disputes that would take place, and people would get gunned down. Well, there's bullet holes
Like Mate One.
in the window. Yeah, exactly. And some guy came in trying to pay with something for the company store from another coal mining company. He used somebody else's script, and they shot him dead on the spot.
Jeez.
There was
Wow.
a guy that was hung in the elevator. He was winning at a poker game, and he was found hung in the elevator. There was a guy that had his head shoved into a sack of grain and supposedly died accidentally.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
last
right.
time I stuck my head in a sack of grain.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing some ghost hunts there, and I think it's going to be.
You know who
a
would
great
love to
time.
go with you?
I know you guys. Lola.
Yes, yes.
She was thinking of that guy down the road.
Speaking of which, we've been discussing with the new proprietor of the Capitol Music Hall or Capitol Theater,
Yes, we talked about this last time.
and he wants us to go in, and we want to know if you would like to join us.
Yes.
I would love to.
Okay, good.
I would love to, and I've got some new toys that I'm going to be getting to bring in and investigate with.
Awesome.
Thermal camera.
Woot woot.
We're still looking for somebody with a thermal camera because I'd love to
Yeah.
walk around with one.
Yeah,
Well-
I saw a bumper sticker the other day. It said "Thermal cameras make me hot," and I'm like, I so want that bumper sticker.
Absolutely. Did you hear about, and I'm asking the guys this too, just over the weekend, Friday night, Brooks Paranormal Investigating Group went into the Aspen Mansion up in Brooke County.
Uh-huh.
And this is really something else. They went in and they went down in the basement where they were hearing noises and things in the wall.
Uh-huh.
They popped the wall out, and lo and behold, there was a skeleton in there.
Oh, no
my
way.
Seriously, yeah.
You gotta love that.
Oh, wow.
We got to get a hold of them.
All right, well, if you're a part of that group and you're listening, give us a call because you're going to come on the show sometime and talk about that.
They just had it on the news. Of course, we were getting on the air, so I didn't see, but I just pulled it up on a website, and
Wow, that's cool.
That sounds like an amazing place to investigate.
I know.
That's what I like. You know, everybody's heard of Waverly Hills, and everybody's heard of, you know, these big, big buildings that people flock to. And I like finding the out-of-the-way ones that have yet to be, you know, truly investigated and documented.
Yeah.
Come up for a weekend, and we could do things during the day and then investigate for a couple evenings
That
both.
sounds great. You know, I had somebody contact me from the Wheeling area. Their friend owns a bar, and they believe it to be haunted.
There you go.
So I thought we'd start with last call.
There we go.
and mix
Sherry's
it
talking
with
my language now.
Come join Nick, Lola, and two drunk ladies. We descend to the bar.
Wait, hold on. Nick, Lola, and two drunk ladies.
I didn't think he was going to catch that either.
You jerk. Hey, Sherry, I know that we've kind of got late. No, we don't.
We don't have to take a break
Okay,
if you don't
we're not going to take a break. Nick, just figure out if you can cut that.
Next break, once we get to the top of the hour, it's going to be a dash for me to make sure we're actually recording.
Okay, we'll just do that. If we don't have Sherry, we love you, and everybody
we'll
knows
get you
it.
back. We'll just bring you back next week. Who knows?
Okay, hey, I'm open.
Now, your Ghost Hunting 101, are you still doing that?
Yep, still doing it. As a matter of fact, I just got dates on the board for the West Virginia Penn ghost hunting classes.
Uh-huh.
We've got the first one May 22nd, which is a Saturday, and then we'll probably schedule another one in the summer, and then we've got one for November the 5th, which is a Friday night. And those are from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's 2 hours investigative protocol and how to use ghost hunting equipment, and then 2 hours exploration of the West Virginia Penn.
Now, have you decided on a new place for your advanced ghost hunting?
You know, I kind of like to do the Penn. I'm just so partial to that building. It does a lot for me. I love the history. Love the fact that you know, it was it's been documented for years. I mean, with their hauntings and the paranormal activity, and it's cozy. Can you say that about a prison?
No, but see, I
With the
I
bats,
so
no.
want to do an investigation with you.
Well?
Because I just have not had any luck at all, and you know, I know you're the one that got the boys into it, and so it's like, yes, I really want to learn from you.
And she doesn't trust what we can do.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
She's
say
heard the
that.
stories of Jordan running. And it's just
No, you crying like a
confidence,
little
no
girl.
Boys, listen to your mother.
I only cried because of the bats, Mom.
Now, see, we were at the Mansfield Reformatory
Uh-huh.
in Mansfield, Ohio, last weekend, and we were there. We had an event there and ghost hunted, and we only do about 40 people when we're at the big buildings like that, which is great for an investigation. And I had a lot of skeptics, a lot of people that had never been there before, and several people had experiences, and that's what I love, is bringing in somebody that might be skeptic or bringing in somebody that isn't quite sure, they're kind of on the fence, and then to have something spectacular happen to them, have them get an EVP, you know, the first time they try it.
Yeah.
It's like the wheels start spinning in their mind, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this.
Well, that's what got us, because if we had never got that EVP, or
I remember.
I mean, it was just like one of those. Wow, I mean, you know, that changed the entire
Yeah.
direction of everything, you know.
It does. It makes you think outside the box a little bit more, and that's what that's what the paranormal is supposed to be about. You know, just not taking everything at face value and digging a little bit deeper.
Oh man, I so want to go on with you guys.
You know, Lola got an interesting.
Yeah,
Why
tell
don't
her
you tell
about
her
your
the story,
picture
see what
down
she
in the
thinks.
sugar shack.
Oh, the Sugar Shack.
Well,
The
it
light
actually,
scene.
it's not. It wasn't my picture. It was John Salva took the picture. But we were down there, and Barb and her daughter were with us, and all the lights were off. The video camera quit working. The battery just went kaplooey, and so just all of a sudden, Barb said, "Oh, I can smell something." And then John and Kelly both went, "Yeah." And then John Salva took a picture, and it looks like an electrical charge running from Barb's hand down to the floor. And at that particular moment is when the other John and Kelly both said they smelled like burning wire, like hot electrical. And then that picture came up, later.
And it does. It looks like a wire.
Yeah.
A really hot wire all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We had a photo like that snapped last weekend at Mansfield. We were in the shower room, and we were making jokes and carrying on a little bit at the beginning of the night. And I had the dowsing rods out, and I was demonstrating to everybody how you can have, if there's an entity around, you can have them move the dowsing rods for you. And I said, this is kind of like the advanced class. This isn't typically what you use the rods for, but I'll show you. And I'm standing there, and there's supposed to be a gentleman by the name of Mr. Anderson that is in the shower there. And I said, Mr. Anderson, walk around behind me and take the rods with you. Move the rods and show everyone that you can do this for us. I said, move around behind me. And I'm standing there, and everybody, there's 40 people. They got their flashlights trained on me, and we're in this shower stall, this huge shower room. And the rods start to separate, and they start to spin around and point behind me. And just at that moment, somebody behind me snapped a photo, and there's a white zigzaggy light of just supercharged energy all the way down my back.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that is great. When you see something like that, and you've got a positive response off the dowsing rods, and somebody captures something, that's pretty cool. And I'm hoping they're going to email me that photo, because I would so love to have it at the website.
See, now, and that was the big, huge skeptic of the dowsing rods. I mean, I think you probably remember us kind of making a little bit of a joke, coat hanger, whatever. And then when we got the EVP, and I can't even remember the guy's name. I know what he looks like, but he's standing there in the North Hall, and I think we showed you the cell. It's the first one of the four mate, and they're crossed, and we got the EVP there, and everything. And after that, we're like, you're going with us the rest of the night. We actually did. We almost more or less followed that guy around.
Oh, yeah. And,
he was our hero.
I've instructed thousands of people. I mean, I do classes on dowsing. I instruct everybody on my walking tours that we go into an old cemetery. I'm constantly showing people how to use the rods, and I've been doing dowsing, my gosh, for 12, 14 years now, and I still feel a little bit silly standing in front of everybody, a room full of skeptics, and saying, listen, I know it works, but for me to stand here and do it in front of you, you're not going to believe it until you pick up these rods. That's why I carry about 50 sets of dowsing rods with me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pass them out to everybody. I want everybody to hold them out in front of you. This is what you need to think about. This is what you need to do. Even if you're a skeptic, give it a shot. Because for me to stand there and tell you that it's going to work doesn't mean anything. It's one of those things that's got to be hands-on. It's just like EVP. I can preach on and on and on about spirit communicators and Edison and his theories about it and tell you about EVP and play you samples, but you're not going to believe me until you get your own recorder. You're off in the middle of nowhere by yourself, and you get a voice.
And that's very true. It really, because I was a huge skeptic going in there. Honestly, didn't think I was going to need anything.
Well, both of us were.
Well, yeah, it's it was just one of the. And I think after we left, we're sitting out there in the car. We listened to it a couple times. We drove to Walmart. Before we got out, listened to it a couple more times. Went to Walmart, went back out, listened to it again before we took off, and it was like a quiet ride going. It was like, we could do this.
It's like, look what we did. We're calling her back. We're doing this again.
Yes.
And that's when we took your advanced ghost hunting class.
Yeah, it's very cool. And EVP is fascinating. Dowsing is fascinating. What I'm concerned with, and this is I'm segueing into another subject, are some of the ghost hunting shows that have just come out. And I don't know if you guys have seen Extreme Paranormal.
I haven't.
I actually have a poll up at the website right now to see how people are feeling about the show. It's on A&E. 3 investigators, kind of like Ghost Adventures, but they go out and they provoke, they taunt, and they do ritualistic things to get a rise out of the entities. In other words, they'll cut themselves.
Oh my God!
And bleed over graves.
So it's like
there was one that was on last
emo
week.
ghost hunters.
There was one on last week where they went out to the side of a mass grave and they actually put a guy in a coffin and put him in the ground a little bit and started throwing dirt on him.
This is like paranormal jackass.
Exactly. And I always say don't taunt the haunts.
Honestly.
I don't think you need to do that. I think it's disrespectful. And my concern is there are hundreds of ghost hunting groups out there. I know Ohio has almost 300 ghost hunting groups now. But there's hundreds of great groups out there, and it just takes somebody like this
Because
get
that's
out
who's
there.
going to be idolized.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know one place they went into, some guy had set himself on fire, and they went down there with a lighter, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not good.
But and kids are watching this, teenagers,
Kids are watching
and
this too, and
they're going to emulate all of this
I
kind
know.
of stuff, and that's scary to me.
And
Somebody's
I know,
going to get hurt.
I know the folks up at Mansfield Reformatory, they're like, hey, this is not good, because they had an inmate that set himself on fire. And they're like, the last thing we need is somebody coming into his cell
They're
and
provoking like that.
laying down and trying to start a fire, or
Well, it makes it look, the serious,
yeah.
conscientious investigators look like idiot.
It
Nobody's
does.
going to trust anybody.
And it's TV.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
TV. I consulted with ghost hunters a few years ago, and last month consulted with Paranormal State for an upcoming show.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody seems to do a decent job of at least trying to stick to the facts. There's flaws with some of their researchers. They come up with incorrect facts here or there and whatnot, but they seem
That's
to
human.
at least be respected of the area that they're at, respectful of the area that they're at, and I just don't know about this show. I'm afraid. I'm thinking it's not a good thing, and people are going to be breaking into cemeteries now, and thinking it's funny to reenact a hanging, or
I can see
desecrate a
kids
grave.
doing this.
I can't. Sherry, what was that show? Was it? It was MTV's Fear.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it?
Fear.
Right, they did that.
That
yeah.
would do really similar. I mean, they made up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as a matter of fact, they're not permitted back at the West Virginia Pen because of the stuff they did. I think it was the 2004 show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a while ago.
And they went in and they made up names for rooms. They had an Egyptian room that doesn't even exist. They showed the Penn Cemetery as being right there on site. They spray painted those Mothman-like figures
Yeah.
down in the Sugar Shack area, and
Nobody even questions why was there an Egyptian room in the Moundsville prison.
Well,
I just came
you
to
know-
my mind. They're like, wait a second.
Because
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
mummies
What
in
is
the
that?
wall.
Oh, okay, sure.
I don't know.
We
Well,
should-
you know what that sounds like almost is, it's a British show, I think, and I've only caught
Most
it like
haunted.
most haunted.
maybe and I just don't agree with taunting him either. I think it is disrespectful, and I think what was it? Who's my guy?
Barry
from-
Fitzgerald.
Yes. Told me, be careful what you ask for because you just may get it.
Right.
And I think you go in there and you ask for this. You are nasty and you taunt, and that's the kind of behavior you're going to get back if
Yeah.
they even bother. I mean, if somebody did that to me and I just got.
Well, it's TV. It's drama, and people tune in for that. You know, and that's what people like. And I don't know if I even told Jordan and Nick about this, but I got asked to be on Wife Swap a couple years ago.
Did you?
Did I tell you guys? about
No.
No.
Okay.
But we're all ears.
Oh, yeah. ABC producers emailed me, and they said, we'd like you to be on Wife Swap. We want you to be the paranormal mother. And I'm like, wow, I'm almost offended. I've got 2 teenagers. Does that make me odd?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we want, from a ghost hunting perspective. And I'm like, okay, this might be interesting. They offer each mother $20,000 to be on the show.
Wow.
Okay, and you get to spend it the way that you want to. They give you the $20,000. I had to go live with somebody for 2 weeks that I did not know. My children were going to be subjected to a woman coming for 2 weeks. They
That
said-
probably was extremely religious.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. And the kids got questioned. My husband got questioned. There was just a very lengthy procedure. And it was funny because once they found out I did Civil War reenacting, they asked me, are you North or South? And I'm like, well, I'm Southern. I'm a Confederate reenactor. They automatically started with that race card.
Oh, you're
Wow.
And they
kidding.
brought that into it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this. If it would have stuck maybe to the paranormal, I could probably have dealt with living with somebody that's ultra religious because I'm sure that's the route they would have taken.
Yeah, I am too.
Although I believe in God, I'm a Christian. That doesn't make me, I'm not a dark person per se.
Yeah.
But I was a little offended, and I told her after a while. I said, I'm just not interested in doing the show, and they hung up on me.
Really?
Yeah, and then here it was about a month ago. I got another email from the same show again, wanting to know if I was into Bigfoot, and if I was, could I please come on Wife Swap? And I'm like, holy cow!
Wait, we've got some people out in where are they? Arizona that we
Yeah.
could send them to.
Well, there you go.
Because Jordan and I got offered one-way tickets out there for Bigfoot investigation. Of course, we would have had to pay to have gotten our asses home, but he was
no,
willing
he
to
said
get
he
us
would
out
pay
there.
for you back home if
You
you.
guys don't realize how many Bigfoot sightings are in your own state?
Oh,
Well, this is Tom Biscardi trying to
yeah.
get them to
Yeah.
believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
There was one guy that was on with, I'm terrible with names anymore, but that was on with him that I thought was very credible. But the minute he opened his mouth, that was, he kind of was like a used car salesman.
Oh, Java Bob, yeah. I know
Yeah,
who you're talking
Java
about.
Bob was cool, but
Yeah. Tom Biscardi, the used car salesman.
yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
Well,
It's oversell.
It's like UFOs and Bigfoot. I really want to see one. I mean,
I
I
know
find
it.
them intriguing and fascinating, but I'm on the fence with it.
Me too.
Ohio was in the top 5 for Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings, which I thought was pretty unusual. And I always laugh when I do presentations. I'm like, hey, we're in the top 5 for Bigfoot and UFOs, and what does that tell you about Ohio?
That's what I was just thinking, but I let you say it.
Maybe too much time outside.
Is this why you moved to West Virginia?
or alcohol. I'm not really sure. But I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Oh, that is cool.
Now, we had a question. Someone walked in while we were getting ready for the show. Her name is Barb. She wanted to know about ghosts of pets.
Yeah, pet ghosts.
Pet ghosts.
Sure. Well, anything that's got anything that's a living entity, I think has got that energy. Going back to Einstein's law of thermodynamics, how everything's got energy to it. Energy never goes away. It just takes a different shape or a different form. So if you apply that to humans, of course, that could be the soul or, the essence of your spirit. And I think you can apply that to animals as well. And I've had hundreds of people that have said, hey, I still feel my dog next to me at night on the bed, or my cat rubs up against me, or I just ran into a woman here not too long ago whose dog died last year, and she keeps finding the dog biscuits throughout the house. And she said, I threw all that stuff away. And she says, I live by myself. I walk through the kitchen. There'll be one laying on the floor.
See, you want to hear an interesting... This is how I got my dog Gretchen back in December. We had Amanda DeShong on once a week on the broadcast. Mm-hmm. And she has psychic abilities, and she can talk to the spirits of your loved ones. So she walked in one day, and she went, there's a little dog yipping around your ankles. I said, well, what does it look like? And she said, well, like a little miniature pinscher. Well, I had a miniature pinscher back, 30 years ago probably, and her name was Gretchen. So a couple days later, I'm on petfinder.com, and I run across this picture of what is now my Gretchen. She's not a Doberman, but she has that mask. And it turns out the day that Amanda saw this Gretchen jumping around my ankles is very close to the day that my new Gretchen was taken into the shelter, and I found her, and that was it. So I so believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that animals do have a soul. They do have a spirit. And
all dogs go to heaven.
I think so. That's a nice, pleasant thought, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I believe that. All my little pets will be there wanting to be fed when I get back.
Even Michael Vick's dogs.
Well, of course they do. It wasn't their fault they got like that.
Yeah, not Michael Vick. Now, I noticed... Sorry, you could ask for forgiveness.
Good
All
Lord.
Yeah, I know.
I noticed you had a new book out.
Yeah.
You wrote a book and you didn't tell me?
I did. I wrote a book, guys. And I actually have a new contract, too, for another one.
All right.
But the one I wrote was just released in May by the History Press, and they're based out of Salem, Massachusetts, and Charleston, South Carolina, and it's called Haunted Stark County, Ohio. And it's all about haunted restaurants and haunted theaters and haunted radio stations and cemetery lore and how to douse for graves. And it's just a compilation of a bunch of spooky stuff in that area of the state. And the next book is going to be on Mansfield Reformatory. It's haunted history.
See, that's what I want to. I've always wanted to go to Mansfield.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to go sometime.
And that's where Shawshank Redemption was filmed,
It was
right?
filmed in Air Force One.
Ooh.
Was filmed there.
Ghost of Harrison Ford.
I'm actually there Saturday night.
Oh, really?
I'm at the Penn Friday night.
Really?
Overnight, and then at the Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio overnight. I'm going to speak to my booking department about that. I think I'll be spending the night in Dallas Pike. I think my husband and I are going to get a room and crash for a few hours between haunted events.
There you go.
See, that's right by us.
I know it is.
Yeah.
See, and
See,
you
we
never
like-
stop by. You never say no.
You're going to have to call and we can go out to eat
You
at
never
the Highlands.
call me anymore. You never call.
Ma?
Mom.
We need an allowance. No.
But, yeah, send you a visa, right?
Yeah.
Now, how many spots open do we have for these pen tours? And
I do a max of 42 people. 42, and this stuff for this weekend sold out months and months ago. We've had
Wow.
stuff sell out within an hour.
wow.
We have a haunted mansion that we do a dinner at and a ghost hunt. It sold out in 30 minutes.
Wow.
All the stuff sells out online like crazy, and it's great. I know you're having Mark Nesbitt on tonight.
Yep.
#1 ghost tour in America.
Mm-hmm.
We like to venture up there at least once, sometimes twice a year, and do some work with Mark. And he probably won't remember me because he sees so many people. But we brought a group in and investigated his building that is haunted, that he has his tours run out of. So he's numero uno on the list, and we're number 7.
You're moving up.
Yep.
Now, the Haunted America Tours is also a sponsor of the show
That's
for
wonderful.
online.
That is a massive website. They get something like 10 million hits a year.
Yeah.
Or no, 10 million hits a month.
A month,
Excuse
yeah.
me. Yeah, that's great.
They support our show pretty good.
That is great. They put out a list of the top 25 paranormal people here not too long ago. Mark,
We're not on the list, unfortunately. No.
Are you on there?
I am,
Oh,
and
you're at.
Mark is as well. Yeah. So
What's
it's
your number on
awesome.
the list?
I was really excited because I thought it was number 4, and then I looked at it, and it's alphabetical.
Oh.
And my bubble was like so burst.
No. It's like everybody says at the Oscars. I'm just not flattered to be nominated.
That's
At least
right.
Kanye West didn't step in and go,
True.
wait 1 minute
See?
here.
See?
Yeah, I'd have a few words for him.
Probably can't say them on the air. We don't want to dump you.
No, my goodness. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Now, where can we find your book at, Sherri?
You can get it at Amazon.com. Borders has it. Barnes & Nobles. The History Press online has it. And my website, hauntedhistory.net, has it as well.
So if somebody says, man, Sherri, I'd love to have an autographed book.
They can go through the website.
They can
and
go through your
yeah,
website?
There's a little box there that asks if you want it autographed and to who, and then I'll try to be nice and put a kind note in the front of the book.
Oh, how nice
Isn't
of
that
you. Yes.
I'm like the Martha Stewart of the paranormal world. I'll put a little paper doily in there with it, and some scented potpourri, paranormal potpourri.
What is paranormal potpourri?
Oh, it's
I have to
wonderful.
ask.
It's got a witchy scent,
Oh.
Yeah, like cloves and orange and cinnamon and
Like sulfur and
Nuke,
burnt hair.
Nuke-tel.
like fall. It's the scent of autumn.
Oh,
Okay.
See? You guys, your minds. I don't know.
I'm going to put them in the corner.
Yes. Time out.
Jordan
Time
already
out.
is.
I'm already in the corner.
We just when we
Naughty
started the
chair.
show, he's like, well, he's in the corner.
That's right. Lola says, do you know anything? There's a graveyard that has a chair on it around here.
In Ferry. I think it's in Martin's Ferry.
To where you sit in this chair in the graveyard and you die in 7 days.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
No, 7 years.
Oh,
7 years.
years.
No. Now, there
I thought that was in Egypt Valley.
Well, I was going to say, there is a cemetery in Egypt Valley that made the top 10 list for the most haunted cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
They have the Hounds of Hell that come running through the cemetery, and you're supposed to hear them behind you.
You're kidding.
There's also the ghost of a little girl who was murdered, and I think that the guy that murdered her is buried in the same cemetery. And
Well, that's
also,
tacky.
if you walk around the cemetery a certain number of times, you're said to disappear. But I don't know how that could be true. Because who's left behind
To tell.
actually tell the story? I don't know. It makes you scratch
The
your head.
lazy guy that didn't get out of the
yeah.
car.
Yeah, the
But
one.
it was
never
number
get
10
back.
on the top most haunted cemeteries in the United States.
Wow.
See, now Lola last when we had our call-in show a couple weeks back, kept telling us we were going to have to sit in the chair again and again.
I know. They're down to minus minutes.
I owe
here
the chair
now.
like 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
They were bad, Sherri. They
I'll
were
tell ya.
bad. I know.
You just miss us. You know you want us to come back.
I do. I miss you guys. And,
Yeah, we'll have to get together.
I know it.
I know one time last year you called me. You were on your way to Point Pleasant, and I think you got a little misplaced or a little lost.
No,
remember
that was Jordan. Unfortunately, I
Was it
didn't get to go.
Jordan?
But yeah, it doesn't really
Okay.
surprise me that he got lost going to
That's
Point
funny.
Pleasant.
I said, Jordan, tell me what you see. He goes, I see a river.
You've seen a river for like 2 hours.
I want
Oh,
to interrupt
whoa.
real quick. We just had a caller said that there is a chair. It's in between Ferry and Coleraine. It's broken down, but it says in 7 years, 7 weeks, 7 days, 7 seconds, or 7 hours, 7 seconds, you'll pass on, or something like
on
that.
the chair.
Yeah,
It says that on the chair.
That's what I'm
What's the chair
told.
made out of?
he said it's a tombstone that's like fashioned chair-like.
Oh, no, I've got to go there.
I know,
Yeah, this is
right?
like a
Well, I'm
road
telling
You're going to
you.
be here this weekend.
Either that or we've got to line this Capitol thing up, and then
Definitely.
and then we could also do the Aspen Manor all on the
I'm
same
in.
weekend.
I'm in.
And okay, you were talking, Sherri. You said that at Point Pleasant, I got lost.
Yes.
Okay, listen. This is how awesome Sherri is. Okay, we get there and when we finally get into Point Pleasant, I call her up and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing now. What am I supposed to be looking at? I took my cell phone, put it on speaker, and she gave us a complete guided tour of Point Pleasant, like
Wow.
everywhere.
Did you
I
do
know,
it like
you're
in
awesome.
the GPS
That's
voice?
That's a great, yeah.
Turn left.
Turn right.
That's what she was like. She was like, okay, you're gonna pass this right here's where this happened. Here's the entire history of this part. You know, it was like being on a tour. Well, I'm not. It was me, my mom, and my little brothers. It was pretty sweet.
Sherri, this is a market you need to get into. Guided tours,
Wow.
like CD tours.
Yeah, how about that?
Like
GPS.
start the tape when you're here. Don't
Yep.
drive like a wimp.
You know what? They do that in Gettysburg. They have that all lined
Oh,
out.
really?
For you.
Really?
And,
Yeah.
and Mark has a great. He's got a great CD that you play as you're driving in the car, and you'll stop at this monument, and he'll talk on and on and on about the haunted history of it. And he was a park ranger.
Really?
So I think he was a park ranger for about 5 years. So he's got that wealth of knowledge to draw from. But yeah, that Gettysburg is definitely the place to go. And Fredericksburg. I mean, if you're into the Civil War, there's so many different places to go to explore and investigate.
Well, I went the last time I was in Gettysburg. I really wanted to see or experience something, so I went to the battlefield and went at like the crack of dawn and nothing. They just don't. The ghosties just don't like me.
Well, you try to pick the right lunar phase because that helps with energy.
Okay.
Oh, you just
So-
confused her.
Full
She's like, I gotta look at the moon.
Full moons and new moons. That means when the ball is up in the sky and
Yeah.
when there's no ball in the sky.
Okay.
Basically. So those are great times because there's so much more energy in the atmosphere, and then if something is going to happen, you're up in the odds a little bit.
Okay.
And you don't have to be out there at night for things to happen.
So we're gonna plan a trip for you to come during a full moon on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it.
This is
Okay.
We'll have to look at get our lunar
Okay.
calendar out.
Okay, sounds
So-
good. Because I'm just downriver from you guys now.
Yep.
I'm invading the mountain state.
Hey, we're welcoming it.
Well, thank you.
You should have just moved up to Ohio County. We would have had all kinds of fun.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry.
Well,
Jeez.
Do you have openings for your ghost hunting classes?
Everything. Well, yeah. It hasn't even gone on sale yet, and it will go on sale through wvpentours.com.
Now, how much
Okay.
are those running?
Those are $60 for 4 hours, and we're only going to do up to 25 people.
Okay.
So, and
Okay,
that's
so
four-
be
that's-
watching at wvpentours.com.
Right.
Also, you can't buy them from your site?
No, can't do them because that's something that the Penn sponsors, and they have me come down and lead the classes and instruct for them. But everything else that we do at the Penn, you can go through our website. I think we have 8 trips planned to the Penn. And when I say trip, you don't have to ride the bus with us. You can meet us out in front, which we get people from all over the place. That Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia, even Virginia, Kentucky. We've had Illinois that have come down. We've had people from Nevada
Wow.
that have ventured out. We had 9 states one night that showed up.
I remember the last time we actually went. I remember the bus did break down on the way
Oh,
coming
yeah.
because we were like, "Well, where is she?" And then the bus broke down. Wow.
That's when there was the wedding in front.
Yeah, there was a
Oh,
wedding.
Yeah, that was great. And they started, you know what? I kind of gave birth to them. They started their own paranormal group
Really?
in Morgantown.
There you go.
Yeah, so they came with us. And, of course, they had an interest in ghosts before they met up with us, but they spent their honeymoon ghost hunting at the Penn with us.
Now, how much do your all-night trips, how much do they run?
This past year they ran $75. I think it depends on prices for next year. It might go up $5 a person.
Okay.
But
and you do other places as well? Are they all?
Yeah, we're doing Waverly Hills. We're going to do Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which is in Weston, West Virginia.
Yeah, I think we want to go.
Yeah, we're going to do Gettysburg and.
Ooh, that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Lola's jumping up and down, Sherri.
You have excited Lola.
Well,
She's
we
bursting
say,
out of her seams.
You know, just about every location in Gettysburg can claim to be haunted, but we actually stay right across from the battlefield.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, if you've ever seen the movie Gettysburg, where our hotel is at is where the left flank of General Pickett's charge. They marched right through that area.
Wow.
And there were I think 7,000 men that died within 20 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I mean, any place that you choose to stay in Gettysburg is going to have some type of haunted history.
I got somebody asking about during your trips at the Pen, do you include food?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have pizza delivery at the Pen.
There we go. See,
Yeah,
we tried that with our investigation, and nobody wanted pizza, and we got stuck with, boxes and boxes and boxes.
No, we have pizza. We have everything from donuts to muffins to pop and coffee and tea and chips and cookies and all kinds of stuff. I told you I'm Martha Stewart.
You
You
are.
have to tell us how you got rid of your stuff because we could get more pizza.
Well, we were all busy. That was the thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I
it
know,
was,
that was a crazy time.
yeah. So.
Well, I hope to see you guys at something at the Pen this year or get that investigation.
We'll get something worked out.
Yeah, we
Yeah, that
will
would
and
be
let you
great.
know.
And we are out of time. We got to cut to the CNN news. Sherri, we love you. We love having you on the show.
I
And
love you guys too, and Lola, I hope to meet up with you and investigate a little bit. And,
I do too, Sherri. I do
girl
too.
power.
Okay.
all right, her website is hauntedhistory.net
HauntedHistory.net.
and the Haunted Heartland Tours.
You got it. And don't
And-
forget, people can swing by the office in Somersville too.
And go to Somersville because that's where all the magic happens.
That's it.
All right, Sherri, thank you.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
See you, Sherri.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, it's time for the news. We'll be right back with after some CNN. You're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog.
UPR.
And now back to Whispers, brought to you by West Virginia Penitentiary Tours.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to hour number 2 of Whispers Radio here on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. I'm Jordan Klein. He's Nick Queen. She's the lovely Lola Miller. Our guest today, also in guest hosting, is Mr. Evan, who was rather quiet last hour.
Yeah, this is kind of a rarity for me.
He's scared of us.
Don't be intimidated by Sherri. She's a sweetheart. Our last hour guest was Sherri Brake. She is an amazing woman. Runs the Haunted Paranormal Tours, I guess, through the
Haunted
Pen.
Heartland Tours.
Well, through the Pen, through numerous places. It's just awesome.
You seem nervous.
I know. I feel nervous.
Hey, calm down. We are recording. It actually worked.
We actually
Sherri, if you're still listening, it worked. We have you on tape unless the computer bursts into flames. So, which could possibly
Okay.
happen.
I got an email here from David McLaughlin.
McLaughlin.
It says that he is doing a Marshall County Youth Football League, grades 2 through 6, this Thursday, November 12 at 7 p.m., holding the annual Flag Football Championship. It's going to be at Monarch Stadium in Moundsville. It's $3 a ticket, and all the proceeds will be donated to the family of our fallen hero and John Marshall graduate Julian Beresford. He just wanted us to let you know what was going on. He's really hoping there's going to be a big success. So definitely be a part of that. 7 o'clock this Thursday at Monarch Stadium. It's only $3 a
So
ticket.
go out, have some fun. $3 isn't much.
Watch a bunch of kids tackle each other for flags. It's
And-
going to be a
and
good
it's
time for
gonna-
everybody.
And it's gonna be it's go for a good cause. Help that family out. So
All right, everybody.
We've got our guest on the line.
Our guest tonight, Mr. Mark Nesbitt, who is ranked number 1 in Haunted America Tours Ghost Tours. He is the man to go to for Gettysburg. He knows everything about it. He studies it, writes it, lives it. Mr. Mark Nesbitt, are you with us?
Runs Ghost of Gettysburg.
That's what I said.
Did you say that? I'm just making sure. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mark?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So tell us about what's going on down in the Berg.
Well, it's been pretty exciting here the last couple of weeks because we had, of course, Halloween. And, it's interesting because the Gettysburg has long, obviously, been known for its Civil War heritage.
Uh-huh.
And so we had, we used to have one big weekend in the summertime, and that was July 4th because that was the anniversary of the battle, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863. But I have to tell you, the Halloween weekend, especially when Halloween falls on a Saturday like it did this year,
Yeah.
is rivaling the 4th of July weekend as far as visitation and tourism is concerned. And, of course, a big part of that is all the ghost tourists. And I guess you have to classify those people as a little different category than the historical tourists because they are definitely they keep later hours, let me put it that way, than the historians. But it gets pretty crowded out there. A lot of people were asking me, where can I go to do an investigation, because we had some serious investigators, and I was autographing that night, and I said, honestly, don't go out on the battlefield because, the park battlefield, because there are too many people there. And I think they're taking their cues from some of the places or some of the programs that are on TV.
Uh-huh.
They go out there and they're yelling, hit me,
Oh, man. Yeah, we were just talking about that last hour, how people were going out and provoking things, and it's kind of ruining what everybody's doing.
Especially when you think about the types of spirits and personalities that you're dealing with at Gettysburg. I mean, they're Victorians. I mean, they often called their spouses by, Mr. and then their last name, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith. It was a little more a little more delicate, proper era than it is today. And provoking them like that, I don't think always works. I mean, I always say, consider yourself. You're in a nice place. You're happy. You're sitting in your favorite easy chair. Everything's comfortable, and all of a sudden you hear this voice going, "Hit me, smack me, make your presence known." I mean, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't answer.
Well, there's some that would, though, and they might just do that. Especially from a battlefield, yeah.
Yeah, that's true, but you may get a little more than you...
Exactly, bite off a little more than you can chew.
Right.
Now, Evan, you had a question for Mr. Nesbitt. Okay, he's got scared and won't talk into the mic. Was it the Devil's Den?
Yeah, I was actually really interested in the Devil's Den. I did some research on Gettysburg when I heard you were going to be on the show, and that seemed like a very interesting place. Do you have anything that you've kind of discovered there?
Well, Devil's Den, of course, first of all, the name, we're not really 100% sure where the name came from, and I've heard everything from the fact that people had once seen a huge snake out there that they called the Devil, to something, some things that go even farther back into Indian days and a little more sinister. But Devil's Den is always, people always ask me, where's the most haunted place on the battlefield? And I say, it kind of changes year to year. You'll have different play. A couple of years ago, it was Spangler Spring was very, very active, and now I haven't heard anything in the last year or two from Spangler Spring. But perennially, I mean, there are a couple places that you can go year after year. One is Devil's Den, the other is the Triangular Field, which is, adjacent to Devil's Den. It's almost part of the same complex there. But those two places are very, very active.
What places have you had the most activity at? Like, if you were a new person wanting to go check it out, where were some places you'd recommend?
Excuse me. Well, I had, like I said, I've always had some sort of weird thing happen to me at the Triangular Field.
Uh-huh.
Cameras going on the blink, personal cameras, TV cameras, that happened twice. These $12,000, $15,000 cameras just breaking down, or the battery packs dying. And, of course, that's the Triangular Field is where there are at least 2 or 3 videos of actual, kind of looks like soldiers walking, through the area. So that, that Triangular Field is almost like one of my favorite places, although I, honestly haven't been there to do any investigations in a long time. I kind of like the fact that, our business owns an historic house, a Civil War building there on the corner of Breckenridge and Baltimore Street, where we run the tours out of.
Really?
Yeah, and I like it because it's we have a lot of the history, and we can basically lock it down like a laboratory. I mean, even those great pictures out at the triangular field, you can always say, well, maybe it was somebody back on the on the Boy Scout trail back there, because you can't really lock the battlefield down. Whereas my place, for example, one winter night 2 years ago, I wanted to see if you could get EVP without having a person, without me being there.
Uh-huh.
And so I set my my recorder up on voice activation in the back room, which seems to be the most active. And it was a snowy winter night, and I closed the door and walked out and locked the place up. Next morning when I went back, you could hear me on the recorder, of course, leaving. Then at 3:55 in the morning, nothing before and that, but at 3:55 in the morning, my recorder started to record and recorded 44 minutes of EVP.
Really?
Was it straight?
No one. Well, pardon me?
Was it straight or like jumping around,
It's hard to tell. I think it was pretty much
okay.
was jumping around. I mean, I got in there, I guess, around 8 o'clock, so it had to be sometime in those 4 hours. But I'm pretty sure that it was, it may have been jumping around. They had 5 minutes in between each one. I know that I heard, though, twice. I heard it was snowing, so I heard the snowplow go by. So I got an opportunity to go to hear some real noise.
To kind of judge it.
Yes, as opposed to the EVP. But to get 44 minutes of EVP that really was unprovoked, and nobody was in that room, or nobody living was in that room, I think it's pretty interesting.
Now, is this? I know the last time we talked to you, and it was an interesting conversation. And I'm wondering if I think we had you on. You were one of our first guests in August of last year, so a little more than a year. We had talked about why you think some of this activity was happening. We went into kind of the geology of the battlefields, whether it was being recorded and so forth. Was this something you would call residual that was recorded there, or something else, you think?
Excuse me. I think some of it may have been residual. Obviously, in order for it to be classified as an intelligent haunting, it would have to interact with the person.
Sure.
It would have to, somebody have to be there. So I'm thinking that a lot of this is residual. And to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to actually go through all of that. I went through about 8 minutes of it. Didn't hear any Class A EVP, but definitely heard, EVP and some very strange noises and what sounded like phrases. Now, we know the history of the building, and we know who lived there, and often and who was there at the time of the battle. We had Georgia troops down there, and so it's kind of an interesting thing to analyze this in terms of the people that we know were there. If I hear any names, like David or Mary, which were the Kitzmiller family, they owned the house the longest. Or if you hear any, Georgia accents, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll ask, have any of you boys been to Atlanta? And that will get a response. Now, with that 44 minutes, of course, I wasn't there to ask those questions, so I'm going to say it's probably mostly residual stuff that we got.
Now, do you think maybe if you didn't use voice activation on your recorder and just played through, maybe you'd get like some gunshots in the background, or have you ever gotten anything like that?
I have accounts of people hearing gunfire on the battlefield. I've heard a couple of recordings with gunfire. I've also heard people who've heard cannons. In fact, just this past weekend, I was talking to some people who had heard cannons go off. There is a motel out to the west of Gettysburg on Route 30, and I have probably 5 or 6 different accounts, different people, different times, who were awakened in the middle of the night. They always seem to be in the one room there by, the most westward room, where they will hear cannons. And if you look outside, that's where some cannons are set up now. Of course, they're the replica cannons but that represents where that unit fought. In other words, the cannons at one time had gone off there. I myself heard drums out on the battlefield. I was out with Carol Kirkpatrick, one of our mediums, and we were at the triangular field, as a matter of fact. We were getting into the car, and I heard one measure, 4 beats of a drum, and it was like a rat-a-tat-tat type thing, and then it stopped. And I was waiting. I stood there for about a minute waiting for him to continue, because having once been a drummer, I know that a drummer can't just stop. They got to keep fooling
you got to
around.
keep going.
Yeah,
now, what about bugles?
I'm sorry?
You hear bugles?
I have accounts of people hearing bugles, and just this past weekend, somebody was asking me about in fact, I heard some EVP, which had a fife in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it wasn't real. It wasn't. I couldn't recognize the tune, but you could definitely hear like a, flute type instrument, like a fife, which they used on the battlefield to communicate commands. So it was pretty interesting. We keep getting stuff all the time. I get letters, a couple a week, emails. People's had experiences.
Now, I know we have an uncle that Jordan showed me, and this is after we talked to you. He's a World War II, my lord, Civil War reenactor. They had went up to Gettysburg. It was taken at Gettysburg, right? You know what the picture I'm talking about?
Yep.
They're at Gettysburg. They're setting off. I want you to talk, because you have the picture, and I'm trying to remember it now. But I knew when he's coming, I was like, I have to ask.
Nick gets nervous when he has to talk to people. It's cool. He's got a picture of 2 guys getting ready to set off a cannon, and when he's going through, somebody took a picture, and if you look at the picture, it's got more than 2 guys there. Was it the plunger, the thing that they shoved down the
rammer?
The rammer.
Yeah, the rammer.
The rammer that's there is like twice as long as the one that they were using for the reenactment. There was a woman in like period clothing standing behind the cannon. There was like 5 people in the picture, and he's like, well, there was only 2 people there, and there wasn't no girls there,
Wow.
And our rammer's only half that size, And it's, all this in the picture while the cannon's going off, you got the glow from it, and then all this stuff kind of in the background. I always thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, those are the things that you just can't explain, and they happen rather frequently in Gettysburg. I mean, with reenactors especially, for some reason I get a lot of stories. Well, I know why. I get a lot of stories from reenactors. I mean, it's almost as if the spirits, the ghosts, can see us.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that they see who knows what it is that draws them. Maybe the smell of bacon cooking again, or once they get there, of course, obviously the visuals are there. People dress the way they remember dressing, and that type of thing. So it really doesn't surprise me that they showed up in that photograph with the cannons going off.
Like what kind of stories do you get from reenactors? Because surely, I would think, because I know last time you talked to us, you told us about a story where, somebody had said, wow, the reenactors out there this weekend were amazing, and you were saying, well, we didn't have any.
Right.
Now, do you get stories from reenactors like, man, we were shooting this guy like 8 times, and he didn't go down, and it was like really a ghost that was going along with the scenario with them? Have you got anything like that?
Well, I got a lot of stories when they filmed the movie Gettysburg back in the 90s. They had reenactors that were staying at Gettysburg, extras.
Yeah.
And they were staying there for really weeks. They stayed there. Some of them stayed there all summer. Some of them stayed for 2 or 3 weeks, go back, work for a couple of weeks, and then come back to Gettysburg. So we virtually had a permanent encampment at Gettysburg, reenactors, and I got tons of stories. Some guy from California sent me 13 pages of notes, just notes on things that had happened.
Wow.
And one that I remember, and I'd heard this a couple times, not just from him, that there was of course, when they were in camp, they hired security. So there were modern security guys and checkpoints that you had to get in and out of, and you had always had to wear your extra badge. You know, you had a little plastic badge that you wore to get in and out.
Yeah.
And a security guy was standing there, and he saw a horseman riding up. But it was late at night. He was thinking, boy, this guy's out for a late night ride. And as he approached, he realized it was, you know, the guy was in full regalia of an officer. But then he looked, and he couldn't see any badge on him. And so he started walking towards him, and he got within close enough to talk to him. He says, "Can I see your extras badge?" And the rider and the horse disappeared.
Wow, right in front of him?
Right in front of him, yeah. And the next day he resigned. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and then another one of a guy that was at one of the banks, one of the phone banks. And I'm not sure. I have to check my notes, but I think he was a minister, and he was standing there, and it was late at night because he was from the West Coast, so he was calling his wife at about 2 or 3 in the morning, and he's talking to her, and she says, "When are you going to be home?" He says, "Well, I'll probably be home, 4 or 5 days." And he looked around behind him, and he said, "Listen, dear, I got a lot of people standing." And he saw a bunch of guys lined up behind him, ready to use a phone. For some reason, at 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody had to, So he said, "Listen, there are a bunch of guys behind me that need to use the phone, so I got to get going." And he turned around again, and they were gone. Jeez. And he said to his wife, "I'll be home tomorrow." So those are just 2 of the stories. And like I said, 13 pages of notes this fella sent me, and they're just. But those all had to do with reenactors, guys that basically lived the life for weeks and weeks, and then have these ghost stories happen to them.
Now, how often, no haunting is guaranteed, I can't just go somewhere and capture something.
Right.
What are the chances of going to Gettysburg, and finding something? How often does an event happen, I guess?
Probably better than in your backyard or my backyard, you know what I mean? You have a couple of factors involved. For example, all the elements that it takes to produce a ghost, okay, are there. A youthful death, an unexpected death. The living are mourning too long for the dead. I mean, that's why we visit Gettysburg to basically mourn these guys. Unconsecrated burials, that happened all the time. Fear of judgment. These guys were very religious, and when they were killing each other, they felt guilty about it.
Yeah.
So in essence, a battle is like a perfect storm to produce ghosts, and that's why I think it happens at Gettysburg. That's why you do have a pretty good opportunity of having an experience at Gettysburg and other places. Battle sites as well. I mean, Roman battle sites go 2,000 years ago all the way up to World War II or Vietnam era ghosts. In fact, I've started hearing some stories from some Iraq veterans of ghostly encounters. Yeah.
Now, do you have? I know this isn't your specialty, but could you give us one of those? Because that's really interesting to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't because I really haven't taken any notes. But I had a friend who is actually a medium, and she was in Iraq, and she told me a couple of stories. I don't have the it's
sure,
not
that's
like
not
I've
a
written them
problem.
down.
I had to ask though.
Yeah, no, I understand, and so it happens, in every war, on every battlefield, it seems. So, the stories. A battlefield is a prime area if you're gonna do a little ghost hunting or even you're just curious. We have it happen all the time in town. I mean, on our tours, we have people experiencing things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Devil's Den or Little Round Top. It can be Breckenridge Street in Gettysburg, because there was fighting there too.
I also know that everyone talks about the battlefield, but with how close it was to town, I know I've heard that some of the homes and the businesses were used as kind of makeshift hospitals. Are there any real buildings that stick out as being haunted?
Oh yeah, we have quite a few. We're kind of lucky because out of the 400 buildings that were in town at the time of the battle, 200 remain, and so including ours. And so There are a number of buildings in town that have, ghostly happenings. Some of the townspeople are reluctant to talk about it, and really don't want to have an investigation. But we've been called to do investigations in a number of places in town. Interestingly enough, one place called Twin Sycamores. It's on our battlefield tour. They invited us to do an investigation. And we really didn't get very much in terms of EVP or any kind of readings or anything. Although the place had a reputation. There were stories of, for example, the women won't work there after 5 o'clock. They won't put in any overtime because of the story of one woman who was up on the second floor, and she was all locked in and she was working late, and all of a sudden she heard the door open and somebody walking around downstairs. She thought it was her boss, and so she heard the footsteps start to come towards the stairway. So she got up and walked over and looked down the stairway, and no one was there. She went downstairs and no one was there, and the door was still locked. So she packed up her stuff, left, and said, "I'm not coming back." And so we know, and plus, more recently, within the last 2 years, a couple of our tours, actually 2 tours, saw some Civil War soldiers inside that building, and they were watching them. It looked like they were eating, and they just watched while these spirits were there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So, and yet we did the investigation and got skunked, came up with nothing. Although those are very commonplace. And then, of course, you have the more famous places like Pennsylvania Hall on the Gettysburg College campus, and some of the buildings on the seminary, too, as well, some public buildings, too.
Okay, and how often do y'all do the tours for the public?
I'm sorry?
How often do y'all do tours for the public to kind of come with y'all?
We run the tours nightly during the season. We're still doing the tour, as a matter of fact, till the third or fourth week in November. The best thing, if anybody wants to check when we're doing the tours, it would be to get on our website, which is www.ghostsofgettysburg.com, and we have a full schedule there. Now, we do, even though we don't show that we run tours in the wintertime, we will take groups out. A group of 20 or more. We'll rustle up one of our guides and send them out in the dead of winter if we have to.
Is weather, does that change what happens at all?
Not really. The only time we won't send people out is if it's really dangerous. In other words, we'll send them out during the rain. If it's raining. But if it's a thunderstorm and lightning or something, then we won't. It's interesting because one night it started. The tours go off at 8, and about 10 minutes after 8, a tremendous thunderstorm came through Gettysburg, and I went out and I'm wondering, where in the world is my tour? And the guide had taken the tour and parked them right under one of what they call witness trees.
Yeah.
Which are the huge trees that were here at the time of the battle. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's he going to do? He's going to fry all my customers. And I said, no, wait a minute. That tree's been there for about 180 years. It hasn't been struck by lightning yet. What are the odds? So I figured maybe he did pick a pretty good place.
And then they got struck by lightning and they all died. No.
And you can visit them today.
For the low price.
Now,
How much does one of your tours run?
The tours are $10. Well, they vary because the longer one is it's like 50 cents more, but still, that's a pretty good deal.
You're ripping people off. No.
A lot of the tours are. We looked around the country. A lot of tours are $16 and $17.
That was really inexpensive compared to some of the ones I've seen.
Now, how long? You said there's one that's rather longer. What are the time? Like, is it a couple hours? Is it all day?
No, we run the tours in the evenings, and the 3 tours we actually offer 4 walking tours and a bus tour. Bus tour goes on weekends, but the 4 walking tours, 3 of them are about an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes the guys get a little long-winded, and then the 4th tour, the Carlisle Street College campus tour, is about an hour and a half, and that's our longest tour. None of them go more than a mile. You walk down to the Gettysburg College campus and back. That's about a mile. But it's easy walking. It's even I could do it, and my knees aren't what they used to be.
Now, I noticed you also added, because I was poking around your website, a Ghost of Fredericksburg now. When did that start?
Right. Yeah, we started that about 4 years ago, and it's a very, speaking of interesting places and haunted places, Fredericksburg goes back into the 1600s. John Smith, as in Pocahontas fame, brought his ship up to what they call the Falls of the Rappahannock. Can't get any farther. Can't take a ship any farther. And that's where Fredericksburg is now. So their history goes back all the way to the 1600s. Gettysburg seems to focus on those 3 days, even though they have a long history as well. But the Fredericksburg area goes back a lot longer, and they have their history documented a lot farther back. The interesting thing about that, when I started collecting stories for the tours at Fredericksburg, I started getting stories from Civil War era people having seen ghosts. In other words...
So it was already haunted.
Yeah, it was already haunted before the battle. So some very, very interesting stories that go back to the 1840s and 1850s. And then, of course, you had the battle and all that destruction. The fighting was in the streets. There's one crossroads in the streets where they said after the fighting there, in this just the four corners, you could count over almost 100 bodies lying there in just this one, what a small town crossroads looks like. So it's an interesting, very interesting area.
What are some other battlefields that you've had the opportunity to investigate and check out and see? Because there were quite a few battles for the Civil War. I know Gettysburg was the bloodiest of them all, but what other ones do you kind of recommend if people are interested in checking them out?
Well, I did do a book on Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, Ghost Hunter's Field Guide to the Civil War. And so those two I have a book about. But some of the other ones, for example, in the Fredericksburg area, there are actually 4 major battlefields there. The other 2 are the Wilderness and Spotsylvania. And they were actually, there was only like a day of rest and marching between the 2. So you're talking almost 2 weeks fighting straight. And even though Gettysburg had something like 51,000 casualties, that's killed, wounded, and missing, they said that the 2, the Wilderness and Spotsylvania, if you had actually counted those as one battle, which you probably theoretically could, they had 60,000 casualties, bloodiest battle in all of American history, those 2 battles combined. The Wilderness is interesting because it was a wilderness before, for 150 years, 200 years before the battle.
Yeah.
It's a wilderness today. There's only a couple small areas where they've developed in there. The men were shot down. The wilderness caught fire, and their comrades couldn't get to them to drag them out of the fire. So some of these men died a horrible death.
Wow.
Just literally consumed because they couldn't move. They were wounded, and their friends couldn't get them. And I know that after the battle, they had a guy go out there and take a team and get the bodies and bury as many as he could. And he was very proud of the fact that he'd gotten all the bodies that were out there. A year later, another guy goes out there with a team, and he says, that guy did a terrible job. There are bodies all over the place. So, in other words, they keep showing up.
Wow.
If there are any unburied, unconsecrated graves, it's no doubt on the Wilderness.
Wow. So, I mean, surely, you do investigations of these as part of what you do. How does instances there compare to what you're used to in Gettysburg as far as paranormal?
Well, I've collected, obviously, more stories at Gettysburg, about 1,000. I've collected about 100 and 125 from Fredericksburg. I think the most striking thing is out of all the stories that I collected at Gettysburg, see, it starts to become data now. In other words, you can start to analyze it and pull interesting facts out of it. For example, a lot of people want to go out and do an investigation, figure they can only see ghosts at night. Well, half of my stories, 48% of my stories, happen during the day.
Wow.
So ghosts are not a nighttime phenomenon. And the other interesting thing is, which has to do with Fredericksburg versus Gettysburg, in Gettysburg, those stories, only about 10 or 11% are visuals. where someone actually sees a ghost, and about 60% are auditory. At Fredericksburg, 25% of my stories are visuals. In other words, twice as many are visuals.
Wow.
And so I always say, if you want to see a ghost, go to Fredericksburg. If you want to hear a ghost, go to Gettysburg. And I'm not 100% sure why that is. It could be something as simple as the way, they reported it in Fredericksburg. They may have heard things, but not counted them as a ghostly experience. Although I do have a large number of stories in Fredericksburg of auditory phenomenon too. So.
Now, do you think? No, all right. How do I word this? Okay, Gettysburg is like a hot spot. So I mean, you got a lot of tourists coming in, a lot of energy, coming from them. Now, Fredericksburg and them, it's not as big as like a paranormal hotspot. There's people not, attacking that as much as Gettysburg. And I'm kind of wondering if that's like either a reason for more visual, or if it wouldn't be as much because they don't have the energy to feed off of. Like does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer to that. I know that Fredericksburg has the Rappahannock River that is right next to it. Now, as we all know, water has some sort of energizing power to ghosts, and that's because there's so much energy, and it's a huge river, and it just goes very slowly past Fredericksburg. That might be a reason. We know we have a lot more visitors to Gettysburg. You can basically, sleep right there on the battlefield. In other words, the town in some of the hotels. Fredericksburg they only have one modern hotel now, and a couple of smaller ones. So it could have to do with the fact that more people are in Gettysburg, and so there are more reports. But I still think that the river may have something to do with the energy that is available to the spirits to manifest.
Yeah. Now, I know we're getting close to running out of time, and you have a huge event coming up in February that I want to make sure we get to. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, we have, as far as I know, this is the world's first internet virtual conference, paranormal conference. We call it the Supernatural Summit, and it is going to be February 19th to the 21st. Now, some people might be a little confused because they're used to having to pack up the kids, gas up the car, take their checkbooks, go to a place like Gettysburg, pay for a hotel room, pay for the conference, and then end up buying $100 worth of books and souvenirs.
Yeah, gassing up the car these days is crazy.
Yeah. This is we kind of took that into consideration and said, well, why don't we just bring the conference to the people? In other words, you can attend this conference, and you can attend it at your dining room table, and you're going to be able to hear some of the best minds in the paranormal field talking. They're going to be given 45-minute presentations. Then you'll have an opportunity to actually ask them questions afterwards. And the other interesting thing is you'll also be able to, if you tap into once you pay and get your password, you'll be able to go back for the next month and listen to these people. Wow. And we have people like Rosemary Ellen Guiley, Patty Wilson.
Oh, wow.
Scott Crownover, who developed the technique of photographing ghostly entities in the daylight. Craig Talesha, who does is the tech guru. John Zappis, Catherine Ramsland.
I know that name.
She wrote the book Ghost, and Eric Altman, of course, the Bigfoot guy.
Yeah.
I talked to him. I was on his radio program last week. So the list keeps growing. The best thing I could do is to tell people to go to our website, which is www.supernaturalsummit.com, and they'll see how it works. And it's just basically like walking into, you take yourself into a big hall, and then you can go to the different hallways and different booths and purchase. You'll be able to purchase merchandise. You'll be able to listen to the talks. It's going to be kind of fun. It's going to be interesting.
We're going to have to keep in touch with you about
No,
that.
we have that linked also on our website. You can get right to that, and all your websites actually on whispersradio.com. Now, Mark, you were telling me about this summit. Now, I would think that something that great with all those amazing people would cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. How much are you charging for this?
No, if you register before, and it tells you the deadline, and I can't remember what the deadline is. Carol's right here, January 15th. If you register before that, it's $50.
Oh.
That's
it's it's a bargain, really. When
you don't have to
That's
pay
a
for the
$700
hotel.
or several $100 value from what I was thinking.
Yeah, when you stop and think about what gas costs to get someplace and staying overnight and everything, so you're really saving a lot of money, and it's a heck of a deal. Plus, you can tap into this for another month. It's basically a month-long conference at your leisure.
Now, is this video of them speaking, or is this just the audio? Okay, yeah, wow.
Yep,
live streaming video, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a virtual tour of the ghost tour of the Gettysburg battlefield. So, and giving my talk on how to investigate on Civil War battlefields. And Carol's in my other ear telling me that we're going to attempt to do a live streaming paranormal investigation of our building.
Really?
One of those nights, yeah. And so that's going to be one of those things. You never know what's going to happen.
So that's included with the $50 of for the conference.
That's included with the $50 for the cost of the conference. So
yeah, I was going to say you could set up a camera and just leave it running, kind of like you did with the audio recorder, and have that live streaming overnight. People sit there and watch for things.
That's one of the thoughts that we're having, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be a little more intense, for us to actually be there. We'll have some mediums with us.
Uh-huh.
We will actually do some experiments with some equipment, and it should be interesting. We always have activity there anyhow, so it should be very interesting to see what we get that particular night.
Yeah, this sounds like a great idea.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, it can be a lot of fun.
It should be. I mean, it's convenient. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a month long, basically. The 3 days there, the February 19th through the 21st, is where you can actually ask the questions to people. But like I said, you can basically tap into their talks and listen to them. Because if we have 20 or 30 talks, you're not going to be able to get to all of them on that weekend.
A lot of people, we've talked to some people, calling in. Oh, well, the thing I always hate about conferences, and it's always, I have X person, Y person, and Z person. They're all giving a talk at the same time. I wanted to listen to all three of them, and I can't do. There's no way I can get to all three of them because and it's a frustrating. Because you're paying to go to all three, but you can't. So,
right. Well, this one you should be able to. You should be able to listen to all of them, and it'll be like a 45-minute talk. Listen to them all month long.
Great. Now, last time you were on, you had a story. About a place you went. I can't remember if it was a friend's house, somebody you knew.
With the blood?
With the blood.
Right.
Now, we have, since August, we had you on last August, we're syndicated out now across the country, around the world, all that. And I want you to tell this story because it was one of my favorite stories of all time, and I want everybody to have a chance to hear it. And I want to know if there's any updates or anything new you can give about it.
Well, as a matter of fact, we were out there this past weekend.
Oh,
Ray
right.
Couch, I don't know if you know Ray Couch from Southern Ghosts. I brought a group up, and we were out at a place it's called the Daniel Lady Farm. And the Lady Farm was purchased about a decade ago by the Gettysburg Battlefield Preservation Association. They're very particular who they allow out there, mainly because they just want to promote the place as a historic place.
Yeah.
But it is haunted. There's no doubt about it. Things have happened out there. And it was the scene of maybe the strangest thing that ever happened to me in my entire career. Carol and I, my wife and I, were at the ghost house, what we call the ghost house, which is where we run the tours out of, and the phone rings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the caretaker out there at the Lady Farm. He says, Mark, if you want to see a paranormal happening going on right before your eyes. Come out to the lady farm. Like, wow, I can't turn that down. So I throw all my gear in the car and go out there. And I'm ready to go in the building. I'm thinking, what's going to happen? You know, is Casper going to fly out the door at me or what? And he comes and answers the door, and he says, come on in. I don't want to tell you what it is, but going into that room. So I walked into the front room. Now, the lady farm was used as a hospital. You have to keep that in mind. And the front room, we're 99% sure was the operating room because it's southern exposure, you know, has the sunlight coming in. And I walked into the room, and I'm wondering, what am I going to find here? So I looked around, and on the floor, on the wooden floor in front of the fireplace, are 3 or 4 long stains like of liquid, and it's rust colored. It's brownish, and it's got, you can see some kind of clear fluid separating out from it, and droplets all around it, and the droplets seem to be starting to crystallize. So I'm taking video of this, and I'm getting photographs and everything. We put a yardstick down next to it. I said, what happened here? So it looks like you killed the chicken. He said, no. He said, this just appeared. He said, yesterday we had reenactors here. They were walking all around in this room. He said, this just appeared. He said, and I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm like, gee, did a pipe break and rusty water come down here? Because it was still liquid.
Yeah.
I was there for about 20 minutes to half an hour filming this, and finally I said, do you have a Kleenex? I want to get some of this as a sample. He says, yes, I do. So he gave it to me, and I sopped up a couple of pieces of, Kleenex. I said, geez, my work here is done. I've documented this. I don't know what else I can do. He said, okay, well, I just wanted to make sure you saw this. He says, I got to go out in the field, finish my work out there. I said, okay. So I left. And about 2 hours later, I got a phone call. And all he said were 2 words. He said, it's gone. Wow. So I packed all my stuff up again, and I said, this is impossible. I got to document this.
He mopped it up, that jerk.
Well, I got there, and he said, this is amazing. He says, I was out working. I came back here. I went in to check it again, and it's gone. Look. And sure enough, it was absolutely gone. Wow. Disappeared. And I got a video of him, and it's interesting because he has his hand, he's rubbing it across. He says, this is where it was, right? I said, yeah. He goes, what's this? He holds his hand up, and there's just a very, very thin film of dust on his fingertips. He goes, what the hell is this? It was a thin layer of dust.
Wow.
Now, I'm thinking, what in the world happened to those, samples? So my wife goes out to the car and pulls the samples, which we had in a couple of baggies, and she said they're still here. So now the organization, GBPA, is pretty well connected. We sent those samples off to one of the prestigious forensic labs in the country, and about 3 weeks later, the results came back. The liquid, the substance, was blood. The species was human. And interestingly enough, if you go in there, you'll see other areas where there are blood stains. Once blood, from the operations, once blood gets into those wooden floors, poor Mrs. Lady probably scrubbed those with lye soap most of her life trying to get them out, and they don't come out. That had disappeared. To this day, there's not a trace or a stain of it. And,
that's such a crazy story.
I'll tell you, it blew me away. I mean, I'm thinking, what in the heck did I just happen? What happened to me here?
Wow. Now,
it's like, a half an hour in my life just hadn't existed.
Wow.
Any results from the ghost hunt that you were just there from? Or?
Yeah, you said you were just there.
Yeah, we were. And interestingly enough, Ray Couch's wife is a sensitive. She was in Florida. And Ray came up to Gettysburg with his group, and what's that?
No, go ahead. There's a caller.
Call.
Oh, okay. And she said to Ray, called him up, and she says, "Look, go to the base of the stairs, because usually I go in that room where the blood was, and that's where I do my investigations, my trying to get EVP."
Yeah.
And I was getting some, pretty good EVP. And he said, she thinks somebody's over by the stairs. So I went over to the stairs and started to get, ask questions, starting to get EVP. And I narrowed it down. I said, are you a civilian or are you a soldier? And we get back, he's a soldier. And then I said, what state are you from? And then I asked, what regiment are you from and who is your commander? Now, I haven't analyzed these completely, but just there, without any earphones or anything, I played it back, and everybody agreed. The first word was, when I asked where are you from, the first word was Virginia.
Wow.
The second, what regiment were you with? The words 5-2 came out, 52nd.
Yeah.
And then I said, who was your commander? We could not hear who the commander was, but just as clear as I'm saying it now, we heard the word captain.
Wow.
So I looked up to see if there was a 52nd Virginia that fought at Gettysburg, and sure enough, there was.
Wow, that's crazy.
And they fought in the general area.
Hey, Mark, I want to thank you very much for your time today. We are out of time. We got to get going. All of your websites are on our website, whispersradio.com, as well as all of your books.
Great.
If you can just click on the picture of the book, and it'll take you right to the Amazon site.
It was good talking to you guys again.
We'll
Mark,
be in
thank
touch
you very
soon
much
for that conference. Keep in touch with you on that.
Let us know what's going on with that.
I'll be happy to.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
All
Have a
right.
good night.
Good night.
We got to call her really quick, Lo.
Yeah, it's Luggy.
Luggy!
Yeah, hey, real quick, guys. I just wanted to give you an update. Besides, listen to you guys. Have you ever seen the scene in Apollo 13 where they're trying to squeeze that round air filter into the square box? That's pretty much what's been going on here for the last hour and a half. But I did get it going.
Yeah?
All right.
Have you?
Well, hey, do that again. There we go.
Oh, jeez.
As bad as I ever was.
Did you call John yet?
Yeah, I've called it in and rubbed it in.
Oh, man.
I already rolled over asteroids, by the way.
Nice.
100,000 back down to 0. So.
Very nice.
That's all the higher it goes?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I guess so. It never changes. It took me about a half an hour to get to 100,000, then it just goes right back to 0 and keeps on going.
Wow. That's
No
awesome.
payoff.
Congratulations, Luggy.
Later, guys.
Hey, see ya.
I'm glad he called back. I was kind of curious about
That's
that.
it. Next week.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't have slept tonight if I hadn't
swear
heard.
I would have had to have
I would have cried, been sweating all night.
called Lola. Lola, what's Luggy's number?
Oh, yeah.
Nick, who we got next week?
So far, Egypt Valley Paranormal.
Egypt Valley Paranormal.
Wow.
Two people coming on, and they're going to be talking about some of the crazy stuff they got
Are they
going
coming
out
to the
there.
studio, calling in?
They're going to be calling in.
Okay.
But it's going to be fun. Like Sherri said, that's one of the most haunted
Yeah,
areas.
this is going to be great. We should try to get Brooke County for next week.
Yeah, that'd be
I've
cool
got an open
too.
spot
Yeah.
now. This might be.
2 local groups in one show. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the time we got for today. Until next time, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.